Hey guys, thank you for joining our exciting episode of YOML. Today we're on Reflection 184. We're on a brand new book. We concluded part two yesterday. So on a new book, I'll let Chris introduce the book and his reflection.
Yeah, so we're on book 184. This book that we're going to be talking about today is a book called Legacy: What the All Blacks Can Teach Us About Business and Life by the author James Kerr. Do you know what the All Blacks are?
No.
It's New Zealand's rugby team, their national rugby team. So like New Zealand is like the mecca of rugby. That, and I feel like South Africa or something like that. Those are probably like the two biggest rugby
So name of the
powerhouses.
team?
Yeah, the name of the team, the nickname of the team. They're called the All Blacks. They have a really unique culture. They do the haka. You ever heard of the haka?
No,
Oh
foreign to
man.
me.
So the haka All Blacks. It's a dance that you do. It's really intimidating. Can you hear this?
No.
Oh.
Oh.
So they do the haka, their famous dance. It's like a ritual, like a tribal song. They do this to intimidate, their opponent before like matches, and also to like, you know, their cultural, it's a symbol of their culture. Anyway, so the New Zealand rugby team is called the All Blacks, and they're incredibly successful. They have an incredible culture. This book is a deep dive into the All Blacks culture, how they came to be, and what's at the heart of great leaders and things like that. As champions do extra. They sweep the sheds, they follow the spearhead, and keep a blue head. And their ancestors, they are good ancestors and plant trees you'll never see. He talks about all these different themes throughout the book about what is a great leader and what they can teach. And then he talks about the All Blacks and how they do stuff. But it's very more general topics around culture, right? And building a great culture. It's a really good book. So I actually start. So the reflection title is Pass the Ball. I swear to you, if we could have written a book summarizing pretty much everything that we've learned over the past 2 years in the year of magical learning journey, basically this book, and I'm not joking, it would come pretty damn close. It does an incredible job of really breaking down the fundamentals needed to establish a sustainable and thriving culture of meaningful work and meaningful relationships. I mean, it's literally like something that can be replicated for generations to come, whether it's through a rugby team or not. The All Blacks have been around for a really long time, and they've been able to maintain a high culture and a high level of meaningful work and meaningful relationships with everybody that comes and goes throughout this organization, and they carry that legacy. So it's very similar to like your affiliation with Texas A&M, right? Like, you're no longer an Aggie, but once an Aggie, you're always an Aggie. Or like once it's just one of these things, like once you're an All Black, you're always an All Black, but at the same time, you try to help. It's like a fraternity, like all these things,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
They've done an amazing job of building an incredible culture there based on a lot of the foundations and principles that we've gone through over the past multiple years, you and I, like exploring through a lot of different books and things like that. But jokingly put on here, like, this stuff works because the stuff isn't stuff. It's humanity, right? Like, this is what is important for us. Like what you and I have learned through this whole entire journey is like, be more human. Like the more that you can embrace humanity, understand why we do
I
what we
mean,
do.
we gotta do us, right? Yeah.
Right.
When you say you gotta do you, like be with them, you gotta be you. I mean, if you're
Exactly.
human, right, be human. Embrace humanity. If you embrace humanity, then you do good.
Exactly. You want to build a sustainable, thriving culture? Well, figure out what matters to humans and structure it around that, right? Like, I mean, that's really the basis of your and I's entire study the source code, I guess, if you will, right? Before you try to figure out the culture you're trying to build. And that's what we've been doing for the past multiple years to be able to ultimately get the foundations for Clubany in place, which is very similar to stuff that they do with the All Blacks in general. However, there's two funny things about this book. This book was actually recommended by a very, very loose acquaintance of mine on LinkedIn. She saw that I was posting these things all the time, which has always been really weird to me. And I'll get into that in a second. But she just saw that I was posting these all the time. And she was somebody that I had talked to through work. She was a customer of mine at Salesforce. And she reached out to me and she was like, I know you love, reading these books and I like reading your reflections. She was like, I think this would be a great one. My boss loved it. I read it. It was fantastic. You should check it out. So I immediately downloaded it and, read it the following weekend. And then here we are writing this reflection. I couldn't be happier. Like, this is the stuff. This is why you do it. This is why we do what we do. It actually made me think, segueing that into, like, it still feels weird. It feels so weird whenever I share these reflections on Twitter and LinkedIn. I hate it. Like, I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't like it. I never like it, but I do it for a reason. And it's for this exact kind of a reason, because I'm trying to share my knowledge. And this whole journey for me has been one that has gone through multiple different steps and multiple different evolutions. And after Amelia passed away, the first, I would say, 50 books or so, that I read with her and trying to find my way out of the rubble of life, like, that was for me. It was very selfish. It was me and her trying to feel our way out in the dark and to figure out a way that we can still stay connected and live this life, find what our purpose is and how to push forward, how to honor each other, help each other, grow with each other, all this stuff, right? Like, there was a lot of learning, self-learning that I needed to do, and I still do, but like, really at that time, it was very selfish. Like, I needed to figure out a way to keep my daughter in my life and how to live my life without my daughter. And that was what really, I feel like, that if I was going to categorize like those first 50 books, like, that's really a lot of what I explored during that time. There was something around somewhere between like book 80 to like 100 or something along those lines where I started to feel not icky, but like, this is about the time, when the Year of Magical Learning idea came about, right? When I was talking to you about it, I was like, I'm starting to forget some of these things that I'm learning, right? Like, it would have been about a year and a half in, and I was like back into a position where I felt like the purpose that I wanted to be living my life was developing, and I felt strong about that. I also started to feel selfish with a lot of these things that we were doing, Amelia and I were doing, and I was starting to forget, all this knowledge that we were learning and we were trying to give back and all this other stuff. Like, it felt like I was becoming a swamp versus a river, right? Like a river, fresh water coming in, swamp, like, things just get stagnated, right? And I felt like I was just accumulating all this knowledge and all these ideas and all these things. And I felt like it was time for me to share at that point in time. I had my fill. So that was about the time when this Year of Magical Learning journey started. And when I started writing more reflections and we started to talk about this between you and I, and then the swamp opened and started flowing this stuff out. That's why they started being posted on Twitter and LinkedIn, whatever else, sharing this stuff, doing these podcasts with you, created the blog, whatever else we ended up doing with all this stuff. I wanted to just open up that river and become something that this knowledge flows through and transfers to somebody else. And that is, at the end of the day, the biggest lesson that I remember from this book, which is pass the ball. The author talks about one of the foundations is pass the ball. Leaders set the stage to build more leaders, right? And you and I, we are trying to build a culture of people that are leaders of themselves to go find meaningful work and build meaningful relationships of what they do every single day. That's what this work is about. That's what the purpose of this is. That's what the hero's journey says, share the elixir, right? Pass the ball. Eventually, at a certain point in time, when you find what you want to find and you're on that purpose-driven life, like, you got to help others, and you got to help others to find their own path and set the stage for leaders to build other leaders. Be a gardener, not a Moses. Same themes that we've heard throughout a lot of other different books, a lot of the other different lessons that we've talked about. It just kept getting repeated back over and over in my head here. Kept thinking, pass the ball. It's time to pass the ball. That's what I was thinking about with this book. I officially feel like you and I, through our work right now, are passing the ball, and I couldn't be happier. If we can help anybody, that's fantastic. And if they can help somebody, that's even more fantastic. And then 7 generations down the road, like, who the hell knows where we're all going with all this stuff, but the goal is pass the ball, right? So once you've had your fill, pass it on. I'll pause there. Love to get your thoughts.
All right. So, I mean, I know you're sick of me saying this, but the beaver must dam.
Right.
And so we as human must embrace humanity. In humanity, one of our genes that need to express is sharing. This is how we become the apex predator of this, of our world today. Is we share our knowledge with others. We share people how to fish. So go back to a year ago when I read the book While We Sleep, and I keep referencing While We Sleep and this and that. I was like, go on and on about this stupid book, according to other people. But the thing is, the publisher and the author are not paying me to push this. But why do I do it?
It's a great question. It helped you.
No, it because that's what I was made to do. I'm a human person. I have a innate need to share, things that is good to other people that I feel I care about and respect,
Agree.
right? And so to me, that's part of humanity, to build them. So humanity, we have the gene to share, and that's why we become this predator, is because we are not the strongest, right? We are not even the smartest.
Sure.
When you look at the Neanderthals, we have less brain capacity than we have, but because we have the ability to work in unison, the unison makes it formidable. It's not about the intimidations of the other team. For me, as an Aggie, I know for a fact that once you have the unison, for whatever reason, your desire, your outcome, it melts together with the community and with that team, with that whole entity. You work as a unit. And once that unit becomes unison, it is very, very formidable. So that's why a lot of times, like when you have somebody who does the same thing, that's why you have people do the chanting, the same thing, because they are the same. When whatever feels the same, we transcend into each other's shoes and we play as them. We are part of them and they're part of us. And that creates this formidable organization, team, whatever that you want to call, right? So for me, that's a trait that humans have, that the current human, because you know how we pass on the genes. So the gene that allows you to survive because you work in unison with the other members of your tribe and you were able to take down the woolly mammoth, right? You didn't starve to death. So you work, so that gene that happens to be in those group of people starts to spread, and the gene that in the people that didn't have that gene start to die out. So the current legacy of humanity is the people that has the gene that wants to be able to work together and wants to connect. That's why for us as a company, meaningful relationship is so important. It is so, like I asked you before, if you are able to make $1 trillion, and even you got $1 trillion in the bank, but you can't tell anyone, you can't do it because you help people when you find out you can't do anything, right? You can't tell anyone. To you, is it worth it? And most of the time, most people ask me, it's not worth it because I want to tell. I want to have the positive emotions of somebody say, hey, I'm happy this and that, whatever. That's what we are desiring for ourselves. So humanity is that gene in ourselves that needs to have the ability to share. Talking about like Texas A&M, for example, the school and the culture never ever tells us to go and recruit people. But for me, like once I went to A&M, all my sisters and brothers, that is my younger sibling, all went to A&M.
Right.
Why? Because for whatever reason, I feel compelled to share the things that is important. My sisters who are an Aggie, her kids are being like enveloped in this culture of Aggie. So their son will actually become an Aggie when they grow up, and their son. But the culture never asks, hey, you go out there and recruit, right? So the need to share, to me, that is innate in our gene.
Agreed. I want to go back to your $1 trillion comment because here's the interesting point is once you get your fill, I don't know what that number is. Let's say it's $1 million. Let's say it's $5 million. Let's say it's $100,000. Like it's whenever you hit that tipping point, like when you're like, this feels gross now. Like this, I'm not going to stop collecting because like whatever got me here is what got me here. I want to share. Like, like there's just some tipping point.
It's the diminishing returns, right?
Well, it's not even just diminishing returns. It's just like there's a point when you need to be selfish at a certain point. Like I said, at the beginning of this journey, I needed to be selfish with my own,
Yeah, because the desire is greater. Just because, like, let's say Jeff Bezos, right? He has, I don't know, 100, $200 billion, right? What does he need the money for?
He doesn't.
He doesn't. Because the thing is, for him, like, you want to buy a yacht, he can buy a yacht, right? And then he has $1 billion now, has $100 billion. Okay, what else can I buy?
Right.
It's not the money that he wants.
Right.
It is the feeling. Why you buy a drill, right? It's because you want to put a hole in the wall. Why you want to put a hole in the wall? Because you want to put pictures on there. Why you want to put pictures on the wall, right? So it's the same thing. It's your money, right? Your money that you accumulate. It's not your desire. Desire is what that money can buy. And once you have enough money to can buy, you have your fuel, quote unquote, there's nothing else to buy.
I mean, once you've learned, as we both know, this is at the core of Clubany. Literally, one of our core values is we don't know anything. And I truly believe that, except for one thing. I truly believe that I know myself. And that's probably the most important thing. You can never, as long as you know yourself, like that's the one thing I'll say you can have, or sorry, not know yourself. You know how you feel every single day. Like you either know if you feel good or you feel bad, if you feel aligned or you don't feel aligned, if you feel like you're moving in the right direction or you're not moving in the right direction in life. Like that stuff, nobody can tell you how you feel or not, right? But everything else, like it's open to complete interpretation. But knowing that sits at the core of Clubany. Like I'm not going to pretend like you and I don't know anything, right? Like we've certainly have learned and explored a lot of topics on this entire journey. And like how do you balance those two things, those two thoughts in your head where you're learning something new every single day, another one of our core values, but at the same time you don't know anything, right? Like so you're making progress but you're not making progress, but you are, but you're not, like et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. My point is it's similar to money, right? At a certain point in time we have to open the dam. Literally, we have to just let it go and purge what we've known, keep what we want to keep, and not hold on to it too tight. Like the dam needs to open. The whole idea of the river and the swamp, I think, is an important concept in general with this whole entire stuff, right? We cannot hold it all in.
It's not who we are. If you are somebody else, then yeah, they want to hold it in, but it's not who we are. We cannot hold it in because it doesn't give us any joy to have $1 trillion in a hole in the middle of nowhere somewhere and say, hey, I have this $1 trillion, right? It's about you say, hey, how I'm going to make myself feel positive with this money. I'm going to buy a yacht, right? I'm going to bring in a bunch of people
I'm gonna help
to go in there, or you're going to help people, or you can do.
Right.
So that's the point, is that our nature, our DNA need to be expressed. And that is to share, to pass the ball, like as you said, right?
Dude, it was torturous. It was torturous. When I would, I don't know, you could see it in my face. I would come to you every single day after I wrote one of these things, and I was like, I want to talk about what I wrote. And you're like, well, all right, let's talk about it. But like, and we were talking about other topics, but I'm like, I want to talk about what I just wrote today because I just wanted to share, because I thought this was a really interesting idea or whatever. It was torturing me to like not be able to even though I was writing these things, I still wanted to talk about it with somebody else. Like that's why we've done this for so long, and that's why we're going to continue. Because
it's human nature, and you're human. You have innate compost.
It's painful to not
share and pass that ball, right?
Exactly.
It gives you a positive feedback, and you want that feedback. You want that positive emotions that gush through your system, and that's why we have to share. That's why we talk. And that's why for me, like if you want to ask me about something I care about, right? I won't shut up. But if you ask me something I don't, then there's nothing I can say. That I could probably utter 2 words.
100%.
So back to what I said, people must stand, a human must be, must embrace humanity, whatever that humanity means.
It's one of the memory palace, moonwalking with Einstein, moments from this journey that I will always remember is from the book The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt. We haven't talked about it, I don't think, yet, but did we talk about it? Did we talk about it?
I don't remember. Maybe not.
We did 90% B, 90% monkey, 10% bee, right?
Yes.
Okay. So from that book, I remember distinctly him saying, you know what? The thing that I found the craziest I thought ever about monkeys versus humans, you will never see a monkey helping another monkey in the wild. You will never, they will never work on a project together. They're probably more creative than we are. They're more intelligent. They're more, imaginative than we are. But he was like, you will never see a monkey help another monkey in the wild. And I was like, fuck, that's pretty intense. That's like our closest relative. And the biggest difference between the two of us is this conversation right here.
There's a big gap between monkeys and humans. Why do you think we survive and Neanderthal disappear?
They didn't share. They didn't have the 10% B in them,
Right. And so to me, you have this species that is not the strongest, but not the weakest either. But you're talking about bees and ants, right? They're probably the weakest compared in terms of compared to the other animal. Not compared weight pound per pound kind of deal, right? But talking about an ant versus a bird or butterfly and human, right? And talk about human, it's not the weakest, but it's not the strongest.
Right.
But it has the inherent trait of the social creatures of the bee, and having a swarm of this not so weak animal that's exponentially formidable. You're talking
Yeah.
about a bee, one ant. No one give a shit, right? Because what can I do? It can't do anything. But a swarm of bee, even me, you, the elephant must run, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you compare a bee to a human, right, it's a big gap. But take the human and say, hey, imagine if these humans were like bees. Right? Who can compete with that? You think about it. Who can compete with it?
Yeah.
Like the smallest animal is able to scare the biggest animal because they swarm together.
Right.
Human is not like the weakest, and it's not the average either. It's like above average compared to all the animals in the kingdom, right? We're not the strongest. We're not the fastest. We're not the flexible or whatever, but we're not the average either. We're above average in terms of the species ladder. And imagine having that kind of a trait combined with the swarm social mentality, the mindset that catapult us to being the apex that no one can catch.
I mean, 100%. I mean, this idea of helping each other, like it's ironic because, and we talked about this with the selfish gene too. It's like ironic when you think of the selfish gene, you think of, oh, well, like you should be like a monkey. It should all just be about yourself. Well, helping each other is all about ourselves. I mean, that is like it's like this is why reason and logic doesn't make sense sometimes. Like when people focus on only logic and reason, like there's logically speaking, like it doesn't
logic
make
isn't really logic, right? Logic is
right.
based on what I think is probable. So when people say, when you say, hey, I'm going to retreat in the opposite direction, or I'm going to advance, right? You advance in the opposite direction or you retreat. It's perspective. So when you plant some, let's say you go and you plant rice, you walk backward. You don't walk forward.
When you plant rice?
Yes, you have the rice that comes out, it has stalk, and you want to put them into the rice paddy. You don't walk forward. How would you plant it? You walk forward.
What do you mean? How would you plant if you walk forward?
You plant and you walk forward. You walk over it.
Wait, why do you have to walk over? I mean, like
no, you walk backwards. Easier.
On it, if you would you have to step on it if you?
Let's say I have a plant, right? I put one, I move forward. I'm actually stepping over it or step on it. Instead, I put one, move back, step another one, move back. It's easier. But when you plant the rice paddies, you walk backward, planting one, walk backward, planting another one. So you think about it, in one perspective, you are retreating. But in the other perspective, you are advancing because you have one, now you have two, now you have three. So you're advancing in the other perspective, meaning more rice stock has been planted in the paddies when I'm walking backward. So it all depends on perspective. And so the thing is, when we're talking about like this logic, right? This logic is like what we know, what we see, and from what direction we're looking at.
It's what you see is all there is, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's yeah, for sure.
Talking about like the selfish gene, right? What we do, because the thing is, you think about it, to be selfish is I want to be able to survive. I want to eat, right? So do you think in a way that, hey, if I were to go out there and try to hunt a woolly mammoth, the chance of the woolly mammoth going to trample over me and hook me with one of these tusks is very likely, and I won't even get to kill someone. I probably starve to death, right? But the even more selfish gene is, hey, if I were to collaborate with the people around me, be able to surround this mammoth, kill it, divide it, I get a piece. That's even more selfish. You think about it, right? That's a 100%. Selfish gene doing. Yeah, right. Because you think things through and say, well, in order for me to be the most selfish, the most efficient at being selfish,
I need to
collaborate.
Right.
So a lot of people, their logic isn't logical because they are missing some of the vital ingredients, or
the universe magic is what I would call it, like, because the universe doesn't follow any rules. It just follows whatever naturally gets you to the outcomes you want to get to, which is survive.
But you think about it, monkeys don't do it.
I know. Well, also why the monkeys haven't yet. To be fair, yet.
A bright bulb light over over the monkey's head. Say, maybe we should do this. And then maybe they could, be the Planets of the Apes kind of movie come to life, right?
Yeah, I mean,
No one knows. But the point is, we have that gene for whatever reason.
right.
Randomly, we stumble on that gene and we use it for our own selfish. Because, like, for me, is if I want to survive, and I know because I have, I guess, the evolutionary changes that needs to give me the ability to kind of project into the future and think through different scenarios and simulate in my head and say, well, if I do myself right, then I would die. Likely I won't able to hunt one and eat and be starved to death or get killed and get maimed by the animals I'm hunting. Or I can go and collaborate with these people, with the other people around me, and have a greater chance and have some of the share of the meat. Because that's a complex thinking. It's a complex thought, right? So animals may have it, but a lot of time like bees, they have the instinct, but they don't have the complexity to think through the scenarios and simulate it, right? Providence and thinking about the future, they do, but they don't have the complexity for us to get. Because for us, like, we can simulate through and say, well, this one option is good, this option is bad, option whatever.
Or
But
rethink.
as far as all the information I have thus far, that's what kind of points me to as far as the most reasonable, most probable outcome of how we become the apex animal in the kingdom.
Pass the ball. That's how you do it. I mean, keep people, keep meaningful work, meaningful relationships. Like that's how you do it.
Meaningful relationship, right? The thing is, those two are like the yin and yang. You have to have them both, and you have to work in unison. But that's what we live for. It's not about like the money or anything. If you have no one else that lives with you, but you think about, hey, let's assume that you're the only person left in the universe, in the world, right? Life is torture.
Yeah.
You're not able to express yourself. Just like we're talking about, don't be a donkey in the shed. Well, don't be a human alone.
That's a
Think
good
about
point.
it.
Like,
Don't
I
be
mean,
human alone, because you look at all the people that ever have any regrets, right? When they're in their deathbed, right? This is the most regret they have.
Yeah, I wish I would have
If
said
they
I'm
are
sorry.
afraid, we need to have that ability to connect with another person, because that's how we came to be. This
100%. I just finished this book last week called The 5 Invitations, which is about learning about what death can teach us about living a full life. The guy was the proprietor of the Zen Hospice Project in San Francisco. He ran a hospice. It was like a Buddhist hospice. This was like stories of him helping people to die and to transition off into the world, and kind of the biggest lessons that he's learned from people over the years in terms of what you can learn from that process and things they regret. Right. You're right. Like that's definitely what a lot of people, one of the things that's why people are there. That's why we have a hospice project. Like if we just died,
I mean, hospice is like a godsend for these people.
It is. I mean, it's just somebody to be there with you, to help you to, as this guy would say, your body may be dying, but your soul is opening up and connecting, I mean, like into a different space, I mean, I don't know. We need connection. Like, I mean, we need.
That's who we are. Like I say, a donkey, don't be a donkey in the shed. Don't be a human alone.
I agree. I think it's a good place to end for the day. The fun conversation as always. The question we can leave for you all is, if you've had your fill, how are you passing the ball on to others? So definitely.
We do that every day. We do that every day. If you're a normal human, you do that every day.
You should be. If you're not, then you should be. Well, thanks for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.
All right. Good night.